Hello listeners and welcome back to our channel. I'm Storyteller. So, I hope that all of you are doing great and all of you are eager to learn something new. That's why today I am here with our new story, Aladdin Part 4. We have already read Part 1, 2 and 3 in our previous video. So now let's start with our Part 4. But before moving towards our story, if you like my voice or like this story, so please do subscribe to our channel. So now let's move towards it. By the next night, they had eaten all the provisions the genie had brought, and the next day Aladdin, who could not bear the thought of hunger, putting one of the silver dishes under his vest, went out early to sell it, addressing himself to a Jew whom he met in the streets. He took him aside and, pulling out the plate, asked him if he would buy it. The cunning Jew took the dish, examined it, and as soon as he found that it was good silver, asked Aladdin at how much he valued it. Aladdin, who had never been used to such traffic, told him he would trust to his judgment and honor. The Jew was somewhat confounded at this plain dealing, and doubting whether Aladdin understood the material or the full value of what he offered to sell, took a piece of gold out of his purse and gave it him, though it was but the 16th part of the worth of the plate. Aladdin, taking the money very eagerly, retired with so much haste that the Jew, not content with the exorbitancy of his profit, was vexed he had not penetrated into his ignorance, and was going to run after him to endeavor to get some change out of the piece of gold. But the boy ran so fast and had got so far that it would have been impossible to undertake him. Before Aladdin went home, he called at a baker's, bought some cakes of bread, changed his money, and on his return gave the rest to his mother, who went and purchased provisions enough to last them some time. After this manner they lived until Aladdin had sold the 12 dishes singly, as necessity pressed to the Jew for the same money, who after the first time durst not offer him less, for fear of losing so good a bargain. When he had sold the last dish, he had recourse to the tray, which weighed 10 times as much as the dishes, and would have carried it to his old purchaser, but that it was too large and cumbersome. Therefore, he was obliged to bring him home with him to his mother's, where, after the Jew had examined the weight of the tray, he laid down 10 pieces of gold, with which Aladdin was very well satisfied. When all the money was spent, Aladdin had recourse again to the lamp. He took it in his hands, looked for the part where his mother had rubbed it with the sand, then rubbed it also. The genie immediately appeared and said, "What wouldst do you have?" I am ready to obey thee as thy slave, and the slave of all those who have that lamp in their hands, I and the other slaves of the lamp. I am hungry, said Aladdin. Bring me something to eat. The genie disappeared and presently returned with a tray holding the same number of covered dishes as before, set it down and vanished. As soon as Aladdin found that their provisions were again expended, he took one of the dishes and went to look for his Jew chapman. But as he was passing by a goldsmith's shop, the goldsmith, perceiving him, called to him and said, My lad, I imagine that you have something to sell to the Jew, whom I often see you visit. Perhaps you do not know that he is the greatest Raj even among the Jews. I will give you the full worth of what you have to sell, or I will direct you to other merchants who will not cheat you. This offer included Aladdin to pull his plate from under his vest and show it to the goldsmith. At first sight, he perceived that it was made of the finest silver and asked if he had sold such as that to the Jew. When Aladdin told him he had sold him 12 such for a piece of gold each. What a villain! Cried the goldsmith. But, added he, my son, what is past cannot be recalled. But showing you the value of this plate, which is of the finest silver we use in our shops, I will let you see how much the Jew has cheated you. The goldsmith took a pair of scales, weighed the dish, and assured him that this plate would fetch by weight 60 pieces of gold, which he offered to pay down immediately. Aladdin thanked him for his fair dealing and never after went to any other person. Though Aladdin and his mother had an inexhaustible treasure in their lamp and might have had whatever they wished for, yet they lived with the same frugality as before, and it may easily be supposed that the money for which Aladdin had sold the dishes and tray was sufficient to maintain them some time. During this interval, Aladdin frequented the shops of the principal merchant, where they sold cloth of gold and silver, linens, silk stuff, and jewelry, and oftentimes joining in their conversation, acquired a knowledge of the world and a desire to improve himself. By his acquaintance among the jewelers, he came to know that the fruits which he had gathered when he took the lamp were, instead of colored glass, stones of inestimable value. But he had the prudence not to mention this to anyone, not even to his mother. One day, as Aladdin was walking about the town, he heard an order proclaimed, commanding the people to shut up their shops and houses and keep within doors, while the Princess Buddir al-Budur, the Sultan's daughter, went to the bath and returned. This proclamation inspired Aladdin with eager desire to see the princess' face, which he determined to gratify by placing himself behind the door of the bath, so that he could not fail to see her face. Aladdin had not long concealed himself before the princess came. She was attended by a great crowd of ladies, slaves, and mutes who walked on each side and behind her. When she came within 3 or 4 paces of the door of the bath, she took off her veil and gave Aladdin an opportunity of a full view of her face. The princess was a noted beauty. Her eyes were large, lively, and sparkling, her smile bewitching, her nose faultless, her mouth small, her lips vermilion. It is not therefore surprising that Aladdin, who had never before seen such a blaze of charms, was dazzled and enchanted. After the princess had passed by and entered the bath, Aladdin quitted his hiding place and went home. His mother perceived him to be more thoughtful and melancholy than usual and asked what had happened to make him so, or if he were ill. He then told his mother all his adventure and concluded by declaring, I love the princess more than I can express, and am resolved that I will ask her in a marriage of the Sultan. Aladdin's mother listened with surprise to what her son told her. When he talked of asking the princess in marriage, she laughed aloud. Else, child, said she, what are you thinking of? You must be mad to talk thus, I assure you, mother, replied Aladdin, that I am not mad, but in my right sense. I foresaw that you would reproach me with the folly and extravagance, but I must tell you once more that I am resolved to demand the princess of the Sultan in marriage, nor do I despair of success. I have the slaves of the lamp and of the ring to help me, and you know how powerful their aid is. And I have another secret to tell you. Those pieces of glass which I got from the trees in the garden of the subterranean palace are jewels of inestimable value and fit for the greatest monarchs. All the precious stones the jewels have in Baghdad are not to be compared to mine for size or beauty, and I am sure that the offer of them will secure the favor of the Sultan. You have a large porcelain dish fit to hold them. Fetch it and let us see how they will look when we have arranged them according to their different colors. Aladdin's mother brought the china dish. Then he took the jewels out of the 2 purses in which he had kept them and placed them in order according to his fancy. But the brightness and lustre they emitted in the daytime and the variety of the colors so dazzled the eyes both of mother and son that they were astonished beyond measure. Aladdin's mother, emboldened by the sight of these rich jewels, and fearful lest her son should be guilty of greater extravagance, complied with his request and promised to go early the next morning to the palace of the Sultan. Aladdin rose before daybreak, awakened his mother, pressing her to go to Sultan's palace and to get admittance if possible. Before the Grand Vizier, the other viziers, and the great officer of state went in to take their seats in the divan, where the Sultan always attended in person. So because this story is too long, so rest of the part of this story we will read in our next part 5. Till then, stay tuned with us. And I hope that all of you like this story. So please do like, share, subscribe and comment on our channel. Thanks for listening and wait for the next part.